What's going on, ChavezzSlovakia? It seems we are all on the same page. Dinosaur facts are pretty cool, so I'm down for that. Also, the poll is up. Make sure you check it out. Let me know how many vids a week you guys are thinking. Sound like a good amount. I will take it into consideration. Right now, we're at about 1,000 votes, and that's pretty good. We need the poll to get to around 3,000 though for it to be a good sample. It's a good sample now, but for it to be a great sample. But right now it seems to be 4 to 5 vids a week. Seem pretty good for you guys. I'll probably spam a couple more in between there because me and Skitten shoot a couple of vids a week too. But I do have the gaming channel I upload to, so I won't be stressed. As long as I hit around that area, I'm not gonna be worrying about it, especially going into summer. So let's get into it. Giant terror birds, the terror reign of the giant killer birds. Now we've heard of some of these monstrosities even, on Casual Geographic. Casual Geographic has covered a bunch of modern day birds that are descendants of these mega birds. So let's check it out, man. Caw to you too, homie.
These ferocious killers were the size of bears with eagle-like beaks and knives for feet.
That is basically everything that we know about them, yes. Massive. Massive.
Their deadliness remains unmatched by modern predators. Their rule was long and brutal, and then they swiftly disappeared forever. These birds ruled over the age of terror. These are the terror birds.
Terror birds! Ah!
Hi, I'm Taliloe Mary, and you're watching Paleologic. For millions of years in the Miocene, South America was a strange and dangerous place.
Stay tuned to learn how you can invest in a new innovative platform. It was a time when the continent was isolated and weird animals evolved to fill the ecological niches that dinosaurs used to occupy. The top predator placental mammals that rule today, like big cats and dogs, hadn't arrived yet. The land was dominated by carnivorous marsupials like the Thylacosmilus, crocodilian reptiles like the Phorusrhacidae,
Oh yeah, we do know about that
weird
actually.
carnivorous armadillo, and of course, predatory birds. But we're not talking about eagles, hawks, or condors.
This land was ruled by terrestrial birds, some of which were over 2 meters tall and had the biggest bird heads ever recorded.
It's hard not to get a big head when you're the largest terror bird, but Kelenken took it to the extreme.
Just for context, the shoebill stork has one of the biggest heads among living birds.
Their beak
There
is
it
about
is.
25 centimeters long, with sharp edges and a pointy tip. You do not want to have any part of you caught in its jaws.
But the shoebill's beak, plus their entire body, which can be as tall as me, only adds up to about 7 kilos in weight.
The Kelenken's head alone was heavier than a whole shoebill. Their skull was 3 times longer than a shoebill's, and their total body weight was 40 times more than a shoebill.
That's huge!
That's what she said.
Weighing roughly 250 kilograms.
Holy crap!
Yes, these birds were as heavy as grizzly bears, except unlike bears, they hunted on 2 legs. So they were in many ways more similar to a theropod dinosaur like Velociraptor than to any living predator.
Kelenken was about 3 meters long from head to
Kelenken.
tail and roughly 2 meters tall.
A single peck could probably split your head open, but
Thanks.
we're not entirely sure if that's how they got their food.
Well, there's a lot of stomping birds out there. There's a lot of birds that stomp, so that wouldn't really surprise me much at all.
The most common theories are that they killed their prey by pecking it to death or by grabbing them and shaking to snap their neck.
Or grabbing and shaking with the gigantic bill. That is also what they showed in the intro with that bird beating the hell out of that rodent.
It's also possible that Kelenken was a kleptoparasitic scavenger and mostly stole
Kleptoparasitic.
other predators' prey.
That means these birds not only terrorized delicious prey animals,
Yeah.
but also other ferocious predators as well. Nobody was safe from terror birds. Their fossils have been found in formations in Patagonia alongside extinct rodents like guillemots and sparacidonts, who are marsupial-like predators. They might have been
That thing's
both
hideous.
eaten by the Kelenkin and
This thing back here, that is a hideous looking. That is what a dorky looking mammal.
caught prey that the bird would later steal. Ground sloth babies were another likely prey of the
Damn.
terror bird.
That's brutal.
Yep, that's the saddest sentence I've ever said.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Kelenkin was far from the only terror bird. One species was so successful that it was one of the few predators to colonize North America during the Great American Interchange.
This was Titanus, a badass name for a badass predator
Titanus.
who lived from about
That's badass.
5 to 2 million years ago. It was slightly shorter than Kelenkin and much leaner. It weighed roughly 150 kilograms, about the same as a jaguar or a small black bear. But as we know from those modern animals, that's plenty of
It's
weight
just
to be
moving
a
a rock.
fearsome predator.
Like a boulder.
So far, fossils of Titanus have only been found in Florida and Texas, and there's a huge geographical gap between them and their closest relatives in South America.
That means that there were likely other terror bird species that exploited the rainforest habitats of Central America.
That's just so hard to believe because of how big they are. Like, how do they navigate around with any kind of confidence?
haven't found them yet.
That might be an interesting project if you're an emerging paleontologist. We just ask that if you find a new species, you name it Animalogico.
Terror birds emerged shortly after the extinction of their ancestors, the dinosaurs, around 62 million years ago.
Did I mention that these are not dinosaurs? If it's a bird, it's probably not a dinosaur. That's a pin that I got in one of my other messages about T-Rex because I wanted to do Tyrannosauruses and Triceratopsuses and then other gigantic birds as in this video. And they reminded me that these birds are not dinosaurs.
And were at the top of the food chain for almost 60 million years.
That is insanity.
Siloteris, the youngest recorded species, lived until sometime between 80 and 6,000 years ago.
Humans entered South America about 14,000 years ago.
Okay.
So if you're of South American descent, there's a decent chance your ancestors went head-to-head with a
Fought
terror
these
bird.
things.
I
and
don't envy
won,
them.
probably.
These birds could kill you before you even knew they were there.
Why? What?
Terror birds were not only huge, they were also fast. Some species, such as Mesembryornis milnedwardzi
That's
and
terrifying.
Patagonis marshai, could run upwards of 70 kilometers per hour. That's as fast as an ostrich.
Bro, why?
The difference is that ostriches evolved to run away from cheetahs, lions, and wild dogs, whereas terror birds could have hunted those big animals themselves.
CT scans of terror bird skulls show that they were not likely to be huge biters.
Their musculature wasn't meant to crush bone the way hyenas and crocodiles' jaws do.
Okay.
To take on larger
horrifying.
prey, they probably used a combination of kicking, pecking, and possibly grabbing their prey with their massive beak and slamming it onto the ground.
Yeah.
This
So
is similar to
that's
how
what I was
modern...
thinking about. That's the bird. What is that thing called again? Somebody knows. Somebody remembers. The one that kicks stuff. That one.
This is similar to how modern predatory birds, like secretary birds and
Secretary
roadrunners, kill their
birds.
prey.
Secretary birds. It's a weapon. Sorry.
Their feet were equipped with large claws that could tear open flesh, and were longer than the famously lethal cassowary's claws. Though even without the claws, the sheer force of their kicks would have been enough to at least stun their prey.
After that, depending on the prey, they would swallow it whole or shred it apart and eat the best pieces.
Unfortunately, the changes in climate and the arrival of placental mammals like wolves and big cats were the doom of terror birds. Every empire crumbles eventually, and in this case, it was these furry animals that came to take the crown.
But there's still a living relative of terror birds hiding in South America, biding its time, waiting for the right chance to make a power move. We have secured some footage, but viewer discretion is advised. This is the closest living relative of the Kelenkin, the Seriema. Okay, they're not as terrifying as their extinct cousins, but they do exhibit a lot of behaviors that are associated with terror birds.
I'd love to talk more about them, but they deserve their own episode.
We're still
I'm
finding
sure. What a
amazing
fine fellow.
fossils in South America. There are over 20 known species of terror birds and plenty more to be discovered. Stay tuned as we keep learning from these amazing beasts. Although, let's hope they don't come back to reclaim their crown.
Excellent. Freaking fantastic. Let me tell you, that was amazing. I know one of the sections in there, in the comments, are going to talk about the fact that these are not dinosaurs. And they are not dinosaurs. They came after dinosaurs did. Do I know the name of the period? No, I have not Googled it. How in God's name do you pronounce this?
Phorusrhacidae.
Phorusrhacides. I looked up the pronunciation of it. I'm not ashamed. Phorusrhacides. You know what? Just repeat me saying it from the first time because I nailed it. Or terror birds. One of the largest species of apex predators in South America. So there we go. Those are the two things that you need to know from the Cenezoic era. And that represents the dominance of mammals, birds, flowering plants, and a cooling and drying climate, which is what helped those things like evolve. There's a good starting point for us, I think, because that's a very fascinating point in time that you don't really get to hear a lot about. Phorusrhacidae birds in the Cenezoic era, 66 million years of Earth's history. That's what you need to know from this video for what this video is about. Boom. Okay, we'll try to keep that in mind. We'll keep a pin in that the Cenezoic era is where we had like a lot of mammals and like budding plants, and then like a cooling and drying of the Earth's temperature to kind of like support that kind of ecosystem. Fantastic. Super happy about it. Let me know what you guys think. Glad you guys enjoyed the T-Rex video. Any other dinosaurs that you guys are really interested in, let me know. There's another T-Rex video that I have waiting in the wings. I'll probably upload it about sometime next week. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys then. Peace.